Diva Speaks podcast is the premier relationship podcast that explicitly deals with relationship matters from a woman's point of view. No subject is off limits. Relationship challenges, sex, intimacy, dating, infidelity, finances, heartbreak, and situationships are all a part of the discussion. Your relationship matters.
Welcome to another episode of Diva Speaks. This is your hostess, Angela. And once again, we have in the studio Miss Jazz. Say hello to the people, Jasmine.
Hey everyone, hope everyone's having a good week. So excited you guys tuned in. You are in for a treat.
Oh wow, you said a treat. Instantly my mind goes to something sweet because I like sweet treats. So we're going to discuss today, we're going to talk about rejection and rejection in relationships. I think that a lot of people are hurting. Some possibly don't know that they're hurting, and others are not finding constructive ways to deal with it. So what do you think about our topic?
I think it is important because a lot of people today, especially in my generation, don't handle rejection well. One, because they feel like they're entitled to everything. So,
oh, that's a good point.
But yeah, definitely not understanding what does rejection really mean and how to move forward after you've been rejected, because it's not the end of the world.
It is not the end of the world. And you know, a very wise man once said, it's not what happens to you that matters the most. It's how you handle it.
Absolutely.
And I think that once you can wrap your mind around the fact that rejection has occurred to you or has happened to you, and you can acknowledge it, I think then the healing can begin. What do you think about that?
I completely agree.
You agree?
Absolutely. I mean, you got to recognize it to move forward.
Right.
But also understanding, I think people kind of forget like a flow chart of like, is this, is rejection, is it personal, right?
Okay.
Is the rejection that you're facing personal? And then is this something that if you try it again, would you be okay with trial and error? You know what I'm saying? Because sometimes you got to dust yourself off and try again. Or is it something you should just, leave alone?
You should just walk away from. So
right.
There are instances that you're saying that when rejection has happened, mm-hmm. just leave it at that.
Sometimes you just have to let it be.
Okay, so you know what I like to do before we really get into the meat and potatoes of the discussion. I just want to thank our listeners for tuning in. And if you like what you hear, if you are excited about the content, and if you are enjoying any or all of our episodes, we're asking that you listen, share, support, and subscribe. And not necessarily in that order. So, in that order. So yeah, let us know what you think. Or if you have some additional comments, our email or my email address is divaspeaksofficial@gmail.com. You can also hit me up on Facebook and or Instagram. So let's talk about it. So here's what started this journey on the way to this particular episode. So, Facebook has this memory feature, right? So yesterday I had a memory to pop up. And my memory was from 10 years ago.
Wow.
Let me read it to you. It goes, rejection is a painful reality, especially when it comes to family. Never pretty, always painful. I've learned to rejoice now. Maybe it's God's way of redirecting my steps from closed doors to other awesome blessings. The Bible does say, the steps of a righteous man are ordered. Why go down a dead-end road? Why knock on a door that will never open? Thank God the next time rejection rears its head, God could be speaking. I wrote that 10 years ago.
Wow.
10 years ago I wrote that. And I revisited my emotions from when I wrote that, and it was coming from a very painful place. Now, I know that the podcast is about relationships and the romantic side of relationships as it deals with matters of the heart. And we're going to get into that this episode. But I think also that we also have to talk about rejection in the family structure.
Absolutely.
Because it is within the family unit that rejection often tends to hurt the most, or you feel the most impact. Because it is within that family unit that the stencil is made on how you handle rejection moving forward. Whether you heal from it, whether you grow from it, whether you're educated from it, or whether you became bitter as a result of it. It usually can start or will start within the family. So here's my story. Many, many moons ago, not telling my age, my birth mother passed away. And there was a disconnect between her side of the family and my father's side of the family, with whom I am blessed, that raised me. And I had a really, really good life in terms of never wanting or needing for anything as far as material. My basic needs were met. My spiritual life was fulfilled. I had the education. I had the proper upbringing as far as etiquette and manners, things of that nature, the basics. So when I graduated from high school, I went back to my birthplace and I found my birth mother's people. And the sad thing about it is they rejected me. They received my sister very, very well. They have a loving, open, warm, camaraderie, type of relationship with her. But as for me, they don't even acknowledge my existence. And my uncle, who is my mother's brother, recently just admitted that to another family member, that he didn't understand why that side of the family chose to embrace one of his sister's children and basically ignore or discount the other. Now, I have felt that way for quite some time, which is the backstory to that particular post. That type of hurt, that type of rejection and wanting to be received from another part of you, it can break your heart. And people don't understand that when you have a void in your life and you're hoping that this particular something, someone, or situation will fill that void, and they disappoint and or they reject you, it can send you down a path or spiraling if you don't catch it. But blessed as I am, I know God. I have a higher power. I have faith. And it is that rejection that actually set me on fire, that made me determined to relocate and reposition myself, which is what put me, on a path, coming from Dallas, Texas to Charlotte, North Carolina. And my life couldn't be more fulfilled now. Had I known that the love that I was wanting from somewhere else would lead me to the love of my life, maybe I wouldn't have taken it as hard, and I don't know. What do you say to that? I know that you have lived through some of the painful nights and some of the memories that I have. You've been there with me. So how do you feel about what I've said?
Well, yeah, I definitely can understand, wanting to have that, relationship with your family and not, understanding, why, I'm open, I'm ready. I want to have a relationship and just not getting that. And I would say it's definitely hurtful because that's your family. You know, that's
relatives.
Well,
Can we replace that, because family is I don't consider them family at this point. Yeah, right.
You know, your relatives are by blood, but wanting to have that relationship with your relatives definitely, you know, hurts when you're trying and, you know, it seems like they're dismissive or rejecting you, and then also having a sibling that they, you know, totally embrace. But at the end of the day, I think we still have to remember that sometimes, you know, they're human and they get to decide who they want in their lives. And as much as that hurts,
that does hurt.
As much as that hurts, you know, you have the same option. So, you know, granted, they decided not to embrace you, but you get the opportunity to embrace who you want. You get to decide who's your family and not have that dictated. Because imagine if, you know, they were, you know, excuse my language, half-assing it. Like, okay, yeah, we're bringing you in, but it's because of the fact that you're simply related, not because we want you.
True.
Right.
And, you know, I think that... you know, we all have our little backhanded comments about social media, you know, and the side effects of it, the culture that it has breeded. But I think one of the things that has helped to reinforce what I've already known before a family member had the discussion with my husband, but, you know, my uncle would invite me into their family group chats, and they would all be having a conversation, and I would try to chime in, and people would talk all around my comments, and I'm like, so you're really gonna pretend like I'm not here? And, you know, to have that rejection on repeat, I think is an unhealthy thing. I think that for others who have experienced rejection within the family unit, I think we have to identify it and not deny it early on. Not be talked out of what it may look like, or try to interpret or analyze it from what it actually is. Sometimes, as they say in the backwoods, you got to call a thing a thing.
Call a spade a spade.
Call a spade a spade, and just accept it, move on from it, grow from it, and leave it alone, which is what I have done. And I'm a healthier person as far as my state of mind, because now I'm not trying to fix anything anymore. I'm not trying to fill that void. I recognize the space that I occupy in life, which is one full of love, success, opportunities, and growth. So why revisit something? And I say that to anyone that is experiencing rejection. Why revisit something that constantly causes you pain? Can you identify with any level of rejection that has had an impact on you?
I definitely have had, you know, a couple instances in the workplace, you know, at school, friends, people I've dated.
Do share. We want to hear about this.
I mean, just more recently, which I thought was just insane. So I had this friend, Tasha, you know, it was me, her, and another young lady. We were all just thick as thieves. You know, you'd always, if you saw one of us, you were about to see all three of us. And it was just so interesting because an event occurred. And I won't get into the nitty gritty details, but essentially, you know, something ended up happening with Tasha's car while we were at an event. We came back, everyone's, you know, got a little liquor in their system, but we're trying to, you know, help. And she just starts going ballistic on one of our other friends. And then I'm just at a loss for words because I'm like, I can't really help the situation, but I'm here. And the next morning I wake up, I've been blocked on all social media. She's not taking my call. She's blocked my text.
That's extreme.
Everything. Yeah, that's everything.
Very extreme.
Everything. Okay. And I honestly had no idea as to like what I've done. And so months went by, I hadn't seen her, hadn't spoke to her. I changed numbers, so that's probably why, I hadn't received any calls or texts. But still, I was blocked on all social media, so if she wanted to talk to me, all she had to do was unblock me so she could talk to me.
Right.
But still, she ended up relocating up north. And before she left, she kept trying to reach out through other friends because I guess she wanted to talk to me. But at that time, I had already gone through what I would consider a grieving process. Because after the initial incident, I felt totally rejected by my friend, and I didn't understand why.
Ouch.
And girlfriends, when we break up,
that's more hurtful than a man sometimes.
It hurts.
Yeah, that does.
That was like my little roll dog. She knew my secrets. I talked to her about everything when I was going through. So it was definitely, and it was definitely hurtful, and it did shape how I handle my relationships, my friendships, moving forward, because, I, in my head, I didn't want to be that vulnerable to somebody who, for whatever reason, could just flip the switch, decide they weren't going to talk to me, weren't going to give me a chance to, apologize if I'd done something wrong, rectify it anyway. But at that point in time, once she started hitting me up, like I said, I'd already, gone through a grieving process of losing a friend. And I found light that, even if I had done something wrong, that if she would have given me the opportunity to correct it, I would have, because that's my friend. But the fact that she didn't do that, it just gave me another opportunity to invest my friendship in other people that would be willing to, if we had a tiff, if there was an issue, be able to communicate that with me. And I think if that hadn't happened, I wouldn't have recognized that, I don't want a friend who won't give me that opportunity. Because if we're friends, you should be able to let me know if I've offended you, if I've hurt you, anything. But like I'm saying, this was like a 7-8 month difference between when the event occurred and when she tried to reach out. And we're in the same city, so we have had the same group of friends. So yeah, that was definitely hurtful, definitely something I learned from. And as in my young adult life, it taught me a valuable lesson on, how to treat people when they do reject you. Because once she reached out, you can't walk back into my life because you feel like talking.
Right. It speaks to a person who is emotionally immature. And it speaks also to her, to the way, I guess, she felt about the relationship, because it didn't seem like, by what you're describing, that she valued the relationship as much as you did.
And that brought me to a sense. I was just like, because if we were in my head, I may be hurting my feelings for a day or two, but I'm not going to block you on everything, and I'm not going to not reach out after that. So I'm just like, for you not to communicate, it's just, it really showed me, like you said, the value that she had on our friendship, because I'm not going to just throw my friends away. I may be upset, but months, maybe a week I might not talk to you.
Right.
Maybe 2 weeks if it's just something crazy. But, months, it was just like, this is a lesson that needed to be learned.
True. You know what? I wrote down, tell me if this fits your situation, that rejection can shape you emotionally, and it can change the landscape of your emotions and how you move forward, which is kind of like what you just said. It can shape you, and kind of like what I was describing earlier, within the family structure, when you're dealing with something that speaks to your emotion, when someone has disappointed you, when someone has broke your heart or hurt your feelings, I don't think people, the offenders, don't really take into consideration that at one day you may mature. One day you may grow from whatever happened, and you may want to revisit the friendship or the relationship. how is the person that you rejected going to receive you? I don't think people think enough of that, such as your friend Tasha, So, I think that for people that are experiencing it, I want to stress again, one of the first things to overcoming rejection is you have to first acknowledge. You can't heal something if you won't admit that it has happened to you. So I think that's first.
And I also feel like, and another good friend of mine said this, disappointment or rejection, it shouldn't deter you, right? Because if I had let what happened between me and Tasha really just sit in my spirit and I just carried that around me, I wouldn't have made, more friends. I wouldn't have had that same kind of openness to get back out there. I'd just be stuck just minus one friend.
That's good. So you've multiplied by way of subtraction.
Right.
Does that make any sense?
Yes, that does, oddly. But
what?
So, but like, even with the way you felt about your family, you could have just sat in that and just been like, I don't want to open myself up to, more people and being rejected. But like you said, found the love of your life. It didn't deter you. It just motivated you to reposition that energy that you were trying to give. And I think that people, you got to remember, don't let it deter you. If you want a kind of relationship and you realize you're not getting it from that particular source, there are other sources.
Say that again.
There
please.
Are other sources. You can get what you need from other things. And most people use this particular reference in regards to romanticism, but what one won't, another will.
Another will.
So what one family won't give you, another can.
Well, and you know what? I've married into a major Hispanic family. It's so many of them.
Right.
I can't. So I have all of the love, and I'll spend the rest of my life getting to know, my in-laws and my husband's network of people. But also, I want to, not that I want to make light of it, but I also want to give a shout out to our Nana. And our pops, who have been, I almost feel offended for even saying the word, our surrogate family. But my Nana stepped in and came in a time in my life where, where it was needed. God doesn't make mistakes. And they have continued to rise to the occasion. They never disappoint. They are the true sense of family. And like you said, I didn't get discouraged. Even on the journey from Dallas to Charlotte, my Nana, my family, has been with me every step of the way. Mm-hmm. And, here's another thing I want to point out. You know what? We haven't talked about. You may not ever circle back around like your friend Tasha did. She kind of not came full circle, but she circled back. Mm-hmm. We'll never know what she wanted to talk about because you didn't give her the opportunity. But that doesn't happen for a lot of people who have experienced rejection. So what I'm saying is you have to make peace with it. Mm-hmm. You have to make peace with the fact that I've been rejected. Mm-hmm. I wasn't wanted for whatever reason, or I wasn't embraced, and you have to move forward. You have to move forward. So this is a little hard, but I want to transition over into rejection as it relates to matters of the heart. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay, so as a woman, I can say that any woman that is living or walking the face of the earth, I think most of us have experienced rejection in a relationship. And I don't want to, double speak, but whether it was from when you were dating someone, you were seeing someone, you were married to someone, or whatever type of relationship or situationship it is or was, I think most of us have experienced rejection. And that could be so painful to deal with. You talking about devastating? Oh my God, is to experience rejection from a member of the opposite sex that you were emotionally invested into. Now, at the tender age of 26, I'm not sure if you've had any experience. Have you?
I've been dating since I was 6 years old.
6?
No, I'm just kidding.
Really?
Well, I would say, yeah. And this was a pretty interesting experience because I had dated outside of my race. And me and this guy, Matt, we went on a few dates. We'd hung out. I'd kind of been around his friends, been around a little bit of his family. And all of a sudden, I get a text and he's just like, I'm really just not that into you.
Ouch.
And I was just like, that seems interesting because we've been on 3 or 4 dates. Mm-hmm. I would assume after the first one, but yeah. And I was just like, well, what do you really mean? Because I'm not understanding. Of course, I'm in myself. I'm the ish. Like, why you not into me?
Right.
And he was just like, you're really not my type. And I just realized that, this just isn't going to work. And I was so crushed. Like, I cried my eyes out. I was so hurt because I could not comprehend why this dude didn't like me after 4 days. So I'm like, you love me. Like, so it took me I would say it took me about a good 2 weeks. I don't know why it took me 2 weeks because we weren't dating that long. But I took it really hard. I think because I just couldn't fathom nobody not liking me. Like, I'm sitting there questioning, like, well, what specifically did you not like? Was it my laugh? Was it like when we were riding down the street and I asked you to stop at Sonic instead of McDonald's? Like,
but that's what women do. Let me tell you now. You know what? Rejection will have you questioning yourself, your self-worth. It will have you questioning sometimes your value. Am I pretty enough? Mm-hmm. Am I fine enough?
Right. Is my booty big enough?
Is my booty big enough? Is my stomach flat enough?
Fashion Nova jeans.
It will. It can have the potential to have you questioning yourself and feeling insecure if you don't check it right away. Mm-hmm. So tell us, how did you bounce back?
Well, my sister got on his page and started saying some crazy stuff, but no, I'm playing.
Wait a minute. What sister? You only have one. No callers. We're not accepting calls right now. Somebody's calling in.
So, but, I think, honestly, one, I'm a player from the Himalayas, so I was able to, get him back on my line.
You're not a player from the Himalayas. You're a diva from Dallas. Calm it down a little. But go ahead.
So, but I think it just helped me realize that, one, you're not gonna be everybody's type, and sometimes it takes people hanging out with you a second to realize, like I was cute.
Say that again on repeat. Tell them again.
It's like sometimes you're not gonna be everybody's type, and what I think I know he found me physically attractive, but once he started getting to know me, he knew things about himself that he realized, I wasn't the one for him. And even though we had fun, this wasn't something that he wanted to pursue further. And I can't be mad at that because I would have really been upset had we been 6, 9 months, a year in, and he's like, you know what, this is just not going to work. You're not my type.
Or if you had prematurely ventured into sex and complicated the matter sexually, and then you discovered that it wasn't going to work.
Right.
And then you would have asked yourself, well, at what point did you...
because you got the cookie now,
you
not
got
good
the cookie
enough.
now, not good enough.
What's going on? But it also gave me some pointers and also how to handle people that I'm not interested in. Because once
You've been a rejecter.
I was about to say, I've been a rejecter. So I'm just like, you know what? it does, like you said, it does take hanging around, slowly kind of learning, like, okay, I like this, but I don't like this, and oh, this is a red flag. So I'm taking notes, but I'm still trying to, see what you're about. So I can't just hang out with you once and, be able to tell by then. It took hanging out a few times for me to notice, what, this is something that I'm gonna pursue further. This is something that I'm gonna take slower because I'm not sure. Or this is just something that I ain't gonna do just because of XYZ LMNOP. So it really gave me insight. And although I was sad, I was disappointed because I thought he was gonna be my little boyfriend, it didn't deter me from dating.
No, I
still
say,
kept going.
I mean, side note here, I think you've been on being the rejecter in the past few years than you have been on the receiving end of rejection. But you know what? You just said something during your sharing that leads me to something else. How people deal with rejection after sex. Does that make you question your bedroom skills? Does that make you question the other person's motives? Well, if sex was all you wanted, you could have been up front. I mean, I think people tend to get a little bit more intense and spiteful when rejection happens after the bedroom. What do you say to that? I mean, I thought about it as you were sharing your story.
I could agree to a certain extent. Only because sometimes you just... It's not because of the sex, but it may have just been the timing. The sex happened and I just had to let you go. Like, oh, I'm sorry. Of course,
Are you talking about you rejected it?
No, I'm trying to think from both sides without telling too much. But I'm just like, okay, like I could, a guy could be like feeling you, and like maybe you're pressuring sex, and he's just like, oh my goodness, I'm not feeling you that much. And then you have sex with him, he's like, I'm really just not feeling you. Like the sex didn't help. Like the sex didn't help us.
Whereas the woman probably thought it was going to help.
Yeah, like if I finally give him this cookie, like no, he didn't even want to be at the candy store. Now you didn't gave him the cookie, you're upset. Or for men, you really think she digging you, and she's just like, oh, okay. And then y'all finally do it, and she was just like, oh my goodness, I could have saved my time and energy.
Or... let's shake it up a little bit more. For the men, there are men who like to flaunt their wealth, their coins. And for a man that maybe he's taken the female out on a few nice dates, restaurants, and on a couple of shopping sprees, and then he gets dumped. Because it doesn't always have to be about sex getting dumped. True. As far as the woman. There are men
who get rejected after they done spent their coin.
And they feeling, some type of way, So with them, I think men sometimes can handle, well, let me just speak. This may offend some people. I think black men can handle rejection a little bit better sometimes than people of other races. That's just me. I don't know. That could be, offensive to some. But, I mean, I've watched a lot of movies.
Yeah, because Todd be ready to put you in a freezer after he gets rejected.
Jamal just gonna leave you.
Jamal just might sleep with your best friend afterwards.
Oh, God.
I'm just saying. He's gonna be hurt, but he ain't gonna be that hurt.
Oh, my God.
He might sleep with your best friend after. No shade. I've just seen it in a couple movies, too.
Right? And so, what's your opinion? You think men handle rejection better than women? Or does it depend on the type of man? Or the age? What's your take on that? Because I personally think that men handle it better than women.
I'd say men handle rejection better only because they're used to shooting their shots. Like women don't shoot shots on a regular basis. So of course, if you've been practicing shooting your shot and you get rejected, you out of probably 5 shots you throw, one of them may get rejected, so you're okay. Women, we don't shoot our shots. So if we shoot our shots and get rejected, cancel the game, shut down the court, shut down the arena, shut down the city. Matter of fact, turn every light off in the world because I'm upset.
I just watched a video online the other day where this woman down there in Florida, she caught her boyfriend's Range Rover parked outside of his side chick's house. And she spray painted the vehicle. She took a baseball bat. She took out all of the windows on the vehicle. And she actually stuck around so long that the police actually showed up on the scene and caught her in the act and arrested her. All because she caught her boyfriend cheating on her, which is a form of rejection. You know, you could look at it as that. Yeah. So that's my example that women, we really don't take it that well, especially when we've been intimate. We've started a family perhaps, which I'm going to segue, which potentially, going back to some of the bullet points from our last episode as far as red flags, what to stay away from, leads to drama when you've started a relationship in a family somewhere and one of you tends to move on to another relationship.
No, she had every right to bust out all the windows in his
car. She said she had, or she did not.
She had every right. She lucky she didn't go to the door. He lucky she didn't go to the door and start swinging the bat in the house. Okay? Lucky.
Ouch. Hello?
I'm just saying.
What are you saying?
Mess up his car, sis. Break all the windows, sis. You ain't gonna cheat on us. I don't know who you think this is.
Oh my God, a thin line between love and hate. That's one of my that's one of the best movies of the 90s.
She was crazy. She was crazy. Hitting herself with oranges. Now that's a little. That's over the line.
That's extreme. That is extreme. But it could and it can happen.
Right.
Rejection will make you do some crazy things if you don't get a hold of it.
Yeah.
And fix it. You know.
That's very true. It definitely can have an impact on a lot of different emotions, especially if you're not used to rejection. Whew, okay. Training wheels, because you will need some if you're not used to rejection. But you got to remember that it's not the end of the world. Just because you're rejected here doesn't mean it's going to stop. You know, there are other opportunities. Like I said earlier, there are other sources. If you realize, you know, you were trying this, it didn't work, the door is closed. Okay, there are 1,000 more doors for you to go to.
Yes, it is.
But wow.
You know, I think the most painful part of it that lingers with you is rejection will definitely magnify your insecurities if there were some there that were unchecked in the beginning. You know, if you were insecure on any level, whether it was about your physical appearance, whether it was, you know, having feelings or issues of abandonment, you know, being rejected definitely will heighten those feelings and cause you to react in a way that will have you looking crazy in these streets.
Right. It will.
You know, and I think the purpose behind this particular episode is to let people, especially women, know that it happens to all of us. And it just doesn't have to be matters of the heart. It could be rejection in any particular area of your life, whether you are, you know, in a professional setting, you're in the workplace and you're the co-worker that tends to get shunned, or, you know, people don't seem as warm and friendly to you, whether you are the, you know, the loner who has attempted to be a part of different social circles and you just can't find your niche. Rejection can happen from that particular point to within the family structure and matters of the heart. It happens. It is nothing to be ashamed of. And it may or may not be your fault, but it is definitely your responsibility to choose to grow from it and move on from it. Anything you want to add, Jess?
I completely agree. You cannot stay stuck in your rejection. Move forward, because whoever rejected you or whatever rejected you definitely will. So why let that be a reoccurring thing, you know, because what do you stand to gain if you don't grow?
You don't.
You don't. So grow from it. It probably will hurt. 9 times out of 10, it's probably going to hurt. It's going to make you feel some kind of way, but don't stay stuck in that moment. That's like having 24 hours out of a day, and for one moment, something rejected you. You still got the other however many minutes, 23 hours out of the day. Don't let it ruin. And that goes for the rest of your life. Don't let one bad breakup, one bad relationship, a family not accepting you, not getting promoted at the job. Don't let that
or friendships.
Or friendship. Don't let that take so much power that it's almost like the story just ended there. No. All right, that's the end of one chapter. Time to write a new.
Right. And you get to make your book as small or as big as you choose.
Right.
And I would love to just, use my life as an example of that. Had I stayed in that particular place emotionally that I was in, it's painful to think where I would be. I wouldn't trade even a relationship with those people for where I am today, because it was that particular pain and rejection that set me on a path to where I am now. And if you have faith, if you do believe in a higher power, if you do believe in God, and if you do, trust what the Bible says, that a righteous man's steps are ordered, then I know that from looking back over my life that my steps were ordered here. And sometimes it is the rejection that sets you on the path to your true destiny, or it sets you up to go in another direction so that you can receive the blessings that God has in store for you. Mm-hmm. I couldn't imagine not being here in this time, in this moment, in this space, even with you, sweetheart. I mean, this is where I feel like I was supposed to be. Think about how your life would be different.
Oh yeah, my life will completely be different because I came here because you came here. Completely different. But there is redemption in your rejection.
There is redemption in your rejection. You are so intelligent.
I don't know where I get it from.
You got it from me. So just to leave you guys with, because we want to be educational, right? So here's what I would suggest. Dealing with rejection and how to move on from it. You got to first acknowledge that it happened. We talked about that, right, Jasmine?
Right.
Okay, second, you got to find a way to make peace with it. Now, I can't necessarily give you the steps on how to make peace with it, but I would say one of the ways you can make peace with it is by not rehearsing it over and over. You have to set aside those thoughts that would be damaging, to you. And then I would say, I don't know what. You have to find value. You have to find your self-worth. You got to discover what makes you happy. You got to tell yourself over and over and over again, even if you have to stand in the mirror and convince yourself that you are worthy to receive the type of love, the type of embrace, and the type of affection that you deserve. You've got to find your self-worth. And then I would say you have to find the lesson in the rejection. What can you learn from it? How can you grow from it? What can you take at that particular lowest point in your emotions and move forward in your life? Those are my particular nuggets of knowledge on how to move on from rejection. Jasmine, you have anything you want to add?
I feel like you hit every point, honestly.
I did that, didn't I?
You really did.
I did that.
That was a good sum up. Kudos. I'm trying to think. What didn't you already say?
Wow. I've left her speechless.
Which doesn't happen often, you guys. So just know next time I'm here, I'm going to have like a whole PowerPoint ready to conclude the show, since she just took all the words.
Yeah, I think I really did. I hit the most important points, and just understanding that understanding the importance of moving on from rejection, because it can test your adaptability. You know, how you move forward or respond to changes. You know, in your life, moving forward from rejection could ultimately stem from that, and you have to be able to adapt and adjust. This is very important. So we hope that you have enjoyed this particular segment of Diva Speaks, where we have discussed in detail rejection in relationships and how to move on from it. The plan was to get into matters of the heart, but I think that there is enough of that being discussed across the media, airwaves as it is. So us not really covering that, I think you guys will survive, but at a later date, we may revisit that particular topic. So we hope that you will like our page on Facebook. If you need to send us a message, our email address is divaspeaksofficial@gmail.com. And Jasmine, you want to tell our listeners goodbye, and what can they do for us?
Absolutely. So again, if you liked what you heard, do us these small favors. If you could, please tell a friend, stream some more. We're on pretty much every streaming platform you can think of. We are there. Share and subscribe.
Support by subscribing, right?
Right.
Okay.
And if you don't do that, I'm going to be like the lady and show up to your house with the bat.
Yeah, we're going to take that as a form of rejection.
You are rejecting us.
You are rejecting us, and we won't deal with it well. Okay.
All right. See you guys next
Diva
time.
Speaks podcast is the premier relationship podcast that explicitly deals with relationship matters from a woman's point of view. No subject is off limits. Relationship challenges, sex, intimacy, dating, infidelity, finances, heartbreak, and situationships are all a part of the discussion. Your relationship matters.